Not ready to jump in yet? That is no problem at all. Here is a little something to help you get started with your dog training journey in the meantime. So a lot of the behaviour problems that we are called to often have one major thing in common, and that is that the dog is typically over threshold, struggling to cope, and therefore offering these inappropriate behaviours as a consequence to that. Understanding why your dog presents these behaviours will be vital to your training success moving forward. So here is an analogy that will hopefully help clarify a few things for you. Some people use a bucket, some a glass. I'm going to use this decanter because it's all I've got, which says a lot about me, but it will do the job perfectly for this explanation. Every dog, and human for that matter, has a decanter, and both positive and negative stresses add into this every single day. Sometimes it fills up and it overflows, and that overflow is those inappropriate behaviours that you're seeing in your dog during these situations. Now, for clarity, it is important to note here that every dog has a different size decanter, so they will fill up based on that individual dog, but let me show you exactly what I mean to make that a lot clearer. This is Deefa. He is an infamous lead puller, and here is his stress decanter. Let's look at what stresses add into his prior to a very stressful walk with him. So, first things first, everyone wakes up and it's super exciting. Getting ready, running around, possibly breakfast. This is easily 1 pint going into his decanter. Once you're all ready, you get your shoes on, ready to take him for his walk, and he knows exactly what that means. That's easily another pint going into his decanter. Then you get your coat. Then you put your shoes on. The dog's already excited and knows exactly what is coming. And then you go and grab their collar, their lead, or their harness. So you've got to add another one. Then the door opens and they're super excited. You see where I'm going with this? As you can see, there's a huge overflow before we even left the house, meaning that this dog isn't able to think or listen to what you are asking them. They are way over threshold and unable to learn in this state of mind. So when we try and teach them in that situation, it simply will not work. The rest of the day may go something like this. The walk's chaos. There's dogs en route. Smells, some noises, dogs barking. Maybe they go to the park, they play with a toy, or they play with other dogs. All of these stressors, both positive and negative, constantly add in to our dog's decanter. Then what happens is we come back and maybe that dog will then have a little bit of sleep. So some of this will empty because sleep is great for emptying our decanters and helps us to de-stress. But then the afternoon walk comes and everything again repeats. We get our shoes on, we get our coat on, we pick our keys up. The dog's then suddenly bouncing around the door, not sitting still, jumping at the door maybe. I've even seen excited wheeze in this situation. At the start of this analogy, I started with a completely empty decanter, but the reality is that our dogs don't always have an empty one. And often it's already potentially a quarter of the way full, maybe even halfway full from previous days' experiences. And a lot of this can be the primary reason that our dogs then develop more problem behaviours as a way to cope in these situations, especially if we haven't trained them how to handle it and how to be calm when all of these individual triggers play into a huge part of their day. So what do? We have to break down each of these steps for the dog, desensitize and counter condition each aspect. The key is to not only help your dog have a bigger decanter, which would be awesome as an analogy and in real life, I have to say, but also how to pierce holes in it so that stressors can drain away just as quickly as they can pour in. Now, for obvious reasons, I am not going to pierce holes in my decanter, but for this, I will explain how to empty it by pouring the stressors out instead. The most important fix is to have a stress holiday or a decanter holiday, in that we avoid all situations where our dogs act inappropriately and allowing that decanter to empty and the dog to de-stress. Now for the scary part. That may mean ditching them walks and keeping the dog at home and filling their day with activities that help grow that decanter, as opposed to filling it really full and allowing that dog to offer all these inappropriate behaviours that we just don't want to see. So we're going to take a stress holiday. Because we're going to do that and we're avoiding those situations, we can empty some of this because we'll be de-stressing our dog. So we can start to empty this, which gives us more space. Some other ways to help your dogs de-stress are just generally rewarding calmness. So when we see our dogs settle on their own, let's reward it calmly. You can do this by slowly presenting a piece of food to your dog, a nice relaxing stroke, or verbal praise. Personally, I prefer to offer a piece of food calmly to them when they are settled. You have to develop some very ninja skills for this, but it works wonderfully, as dogs will repeat what works for them, so they'll keep offering you this nice calm behaviour because they know it'll get them a nice reward at the end. So now your dog is choosing calm more often, we can empty some of this again because they're making that choice on their own, they're choosing to be calm and therefore choosing to de-stress, and they're getting rewarded for it, which is super positive for them. The next is enrichment. Dogs soothe by sniffing, licking, or chewing. So providing outlets for these throughout their day will seriously help your dogs to de-stress. It's also key to use these after positive or negative stressful events as a form of decompression. It will really help your dog after these sorts of situations to come back down and relieve any sort of anxiety that may have built up because of that situation. All these positive calming outlets, let's pour some more away. The last one is sleep. Making sure your dog is having sufficient sleep throughout the day and night will be a strong contributor to a calmer, more relaxed dog who is able to think in arousal. It is so easy to think that keeping our dogs awake and on the go constantly will be what makes them tired, but it's like a toddler. They just become overtired, and this can create just as bad and inappropriate behaviours than the previous one that you started with in the first place. As a general rule of thumb, a puppy should be getting about 18 hours sleep in a 24-hour period, give or take. An adult dog around 12 to 14 hours, and a senior dog is actually back to puppy levels of around 18 plus hours sleep. So let me ask you this. Does your dog have a safe, calm, quiet, clean, undisturbed place that they can go and sleep throughout the day that will allow them to get this much peaceful sleep and relaxation that they need? Let's assume they do. We can empty some of this. All of these tactics will help your prominent behaviour, guaranteed. By managing our dog's arousal levels and giving them the tools to empty their decanter over however long it takes will enable us to help reshape their brain to choose more appropriate behaviours next time. So if you still aren't ready to jump in with training, then I urge you to look at your dog or dogs day to day and have a think about a few simple changes that you can make to help them in their training journey moving forward. Of course, if you've got any questions, please do get in touch. You can book a free 30-minute consultation via our website, and we can have an overview chat about your problem behaviour and how you are best to proceed. This is a no obligation call, so please do make the most of it so we can have that initial chat and see if there's something that we can do to help. We wish you all the luck in the world with your dog training journey, and fingers crossed we'll be seeing you very soon. Take care.